Windows 10 on your Mac using Boot Camp Assistant. Let's check it out. Camp Assistant. So just search on Google for Windows Assistant. Now what you do is you open up the Finder, you go to Applications, and then you scroll down till you find Utilities. Once you open up Utilities, you should see the Boot Camp Assistant app, and you want to just open that up to get started. So once Boot Camp Assistant is open, you can click Continue, and then next to the ISO image box, you want to click where it says Choose, and go to the Downloads folder or wherever your Windows 10 ISO is saved. Select the ISO and then click Open. Alright, so now we need to designate the amount of space you want to give the Windows. You can, I think, for your password here. Here's the Windows logo. Now it's going to add. So now you can select Windows 10 features. You definitely have to give it or disable next, and it's going to make everything work like the touch bar, etc. So just agree to that and then click Next, and it'll install Boot Camp. And then click Install on any other pop-up that you see. These are the drivers that you're going to need to work with your hardware. So you just let that run all the way through. And then you'll see this, Finish. So just click Finish, it's going to reboot. And since I didn't set a password, it'll go ahead and log me in automatically, like that. And now that all the drivers are installed, here's the good news. We can now use our Wi-Fi connection because the Wi-Fi drivers are installed. So let's go ahead and connect to Wi-Fi now. In the little system tray, you just click on your Wi-Fi router, put in your password, and then press return on your keyboard. And it looks like it's connected. Okay, so now we can go to the Start menu and run the Apple software update. So click Start, click Apple software update, and this will install any of the additional updates that it needs to download from the internet. So it is checking for new updates. And there we go. So we see a Bluetooth update, and we also see an Apple software update for Windows 10. So you definitely want both of those installed. So that's what we're doing right now. Any pop-ups, just like before, click Install. And then yes, we want to reboot. Just make sure everything was checked and we are installed. Good, yes we are. So click yes, and it is restarting. And we're back up. So now we need to run Windows Update, and this can be a little time consuming. So you want to go to your settings in the Start menu, and then you should see Update and Security. I'm going to click where it says Windows Update, and it's going to check for updates. It found updates, and now it's downloading those updates. And this is going to take a while. I'm not going to even lie to you. This is going to take a while. So in the meantime, let's talk about activation. So you can activate Windows or join the Windows Insider program. Activation, you're going to see my device here is already activated because I activated it before, and it actually keeps that hardware on file, so it automatically will activate when you reinstall Windows, which is kind of cool.
Most people use their laptops for way longer than 4 or 6 months, unlike most YouTubers that review them. I'm one of those people. When I buy a computer, I intend to use it for at least 2 years. The last laptop I bought served me for 5 years until I built this beast. So this MacBook review will be from the perspective of an actual long-term user. Now, I bought this Mac 2 years ago, and for me, the laptop experience isn't just about what's on the outside, like the speakers or the screen, which I'll talk about later. What's sometimes more important is the software. the operating system. So let's talk about macOS first. Now, I'm the type of person who likes tinkering with their operating system and toggling every single setting to see what it does. If I don't like something, instead of learning to live with it, I look for ways to fix it. So learning to use macOS initially instead of Windows wasn't a big deal for me. It was actually a fun experience. And after using it for 2 years, there are a lot of things that I like about it and a lot of things I hate, or that I hated and then found a way to fix later. Let's start with the things I like. The design consistency. If you turn on dark mode on Windows, most things become dark, but not this panel, or this top bar. Also, these are mouse settings, but so are these. Why are they separate, and why is one 10 years older than the other one? This is a lot rarer on macOS. If you turn on dark mode, you won't get randomly flashbanged browsing through settings. Even most third-party apps support it. The way that macOS renders fonts. It's a personal preference, but I like how text looks on macOS. Obviously, the resolution of the display and its scaling play a massive role, but here's the same text on the same monitor and similar display scaling. Numbers, pages, and Keynote. Those are a nice touch. It's essentially Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, but amplified. Of course, you can still use Microsoft Word or Excel on Mac. Apple's and Google's alternatives are just free. No random updates forcefully restarting your PC. I didn't realize how annoying this was until I built my first PC and tried editing a video on Windows. I left my PC to get some food for 5 minutes, and when I came back, I saw this. Great. Way less bugs compared to Windows. I was also brutally reminded of what a buggy mess Windows actually is. For example, here's a random white square on my desktop that stays above all the apps. The only way to get rid of it was to log out and back in, which of course closed all the apps that I had open. Or your device is running low on memory. My PC has twice as much memory as my MacBook, yet I'm always surprised at how good my Mac is at managing it. No, 16 gigabytes of RAM on Mac isn't the same as 32 on Windows, as Apple would like you to think, but no matter how many apps I have open, it always blows my mind that the app I'm using doesn't slow down or crash because I'm exporting a video in the background. There is this weird bug that happens after a heavy workload where dragging apps around becomes weirdly delayed. Strangely, it also happens when using the screen sharing app and controlling someone else's MacBook. You can see how the mouse cursor is not on the app's window, but I can count on my fingers the number of times something crashed because it was using too much memory. It happened though. Speaking of crashing, Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Premiere Pro, they just crash continuously when I'm using them on Windows. It's probably not only Windows' fault, but it just happens a lot less on Mac. Actually, I don't remember when was the last time Premiere quit unexpectedly on my Mac. I had so many bugs with OBS as well on Windows. It's a screen recording software, like it getting stuck on stopping recording, or whatever this is. Then there's the taskbar. Sometimes apps randomly decide jumping on each other. What's this gap on the taskbar? Why is it not in the center? Oh, very interesting. And sometimes all icons go blank, just for fun. I'm not saying that there aren't bugs on macOS, but over the 2 years of using it, I had to deal with a lot fewer of them. Finder is much faster and crashes less than File Explorer. For some reason, File Explorer gets insanely slow when there are a lot of big files in a folder. This is on an SSD, by the way. It also keeps crashing. If I go back and go back in, it takes the same amount of time. This doesn't make any sense. And I don't think I've had Finder crash once. Also, searching for something on Windows without third-party apps is annoyingly slow. AirDrop is very convenient, and the other Apple ecosystem features, like being able to message someone from your Mac, or copy things on your iPhone and paste them on your Mac. The Notes app syncing everywhere. If you have an iPhone and a Mac, they synergize so well. And the final thing I'm going to mention is the mouse cursor. I like it. On to the things I dislike about the operating system. Everything on an external monitor will look garbage if you're using macOS, especially if you have a 1440p monitor. This is because macOS only likes very specific screen resolutions that it scales nicely with. They're called high DPI resolutions. And I have a 1440p external monitor. But thankfully, a while back, I discovered this free app called Better Display. Essentially what it does is it adds a bunch of these high DPI resolutions to your Mac that you can then choose from on your external monitor, and everything goes from looking like this to this. Very nice. macOS hates external mice. I made an entire video talking about mice and macOS. You will find it in the description right under the like button. Not long ago, you couldn't even disable mouse acceleration on Mac without third-party software. Then they added it here under advanced. But getting your mouse to work as you want isn't that hard by using an app called Linear Mouse. It's free and it lets you do things like change your scrolling speed per application. This is very useful for me. It lets you enable the back and forward buttons if your mouse has them, and even enable the middle click, which, for those of you that don't know, is when you press down the scroll wheel. It will let you close tabs without clicking on the little X and open links in new tabs. Now your life is changed. Also, I've tried using many mice with my Mac, including the infamous MX Master 3S and the even more infamous Magic Mouse. But this was the only mouse that worked the best for me. It's called the Keychron M3. I'll leave a link in the description. It connects via USB-C, unlike other mice, and there's also a Bluetooth mode that has the least amount of Bluetooth latency out of all the Bluetooth mice I've tested. Back to software issues. The next thing I absolutely hate is related to full screen apps. On Mac, just like on Windows, you have virtual desktops. You can create them for different tasks, like one for planning a trip and another for work. However, if you full screen an app, like when watching a YouTube video, that app always gets sent to the end of all your desktops. This is horrible because if you now decide to go back and do other stuff while it's in full screen, you will have to scroll all the way to the end when you finally want to pause the video or get to the app. Animations. They're nice for the most part. macOS is full of cool, smooth animations, just like iOS. However, there's one animation that annoys me every time that I see it. It's this one when switching virtual desktops. Why, you ask? Because its duration increases with the refresh rate of my monitor. If I set my display's refresh rate to 60 Hz, this animation is very nice and fast. But if I do 144 Hz, it becomes much slower. Not only that, I can't start clicking something on the space that I'm switching to until it fully finishes the animation. It only starts registering the click once it's fully finished. This is probably a thing that 99% of people would never notice, but it's been annoying me for so long. Also, I love that on Linux, you can just slide a slider and increase or decrease the speed of all animations. I would love for this slider to be in macOS. Having two instances of the same app open. I've gotten used to this now, but on macOS, when you have multiple instances of the same app open, like here two Chrome windows, you can't really see that in the dock unless you right-click. On Windows, you just hover over an app and you see what you have open. And this is just inconvenient. At first, I kept losing all my windows because they just wouldn't show up in the dock. By the way, if you like the wallpapers I'm using, they're from one of my wallpaper packs. I'll leave a link in the description. I also had an issue where the battery would drain insanely fast when my Mac was closed, sometimes faster than when I was using it, but this Reddit post helped me solve it. It had to do with changing some sleep settings through the terminal. Okay, so far I've talked about macOS, which is the same across every Apple laptop. But now let's talk about this laptop in particular. Starting things off is the screen. It's so good. Much better than the MacBook Air model or anything else that I've seen. First, the blacks are insane. Once I started using it, I realized that on every other monitor I have, the blacks are gray. But on this screen, they're really black. Obviously, you won't see how black through this video if your monitor isn't OLED. It's not perfect though, because if I set my screen brightness to very high, there's a slight halo around bright colors on a dark background, like the mouse cursor or subtitles when watching a movie. But there are two more things about this screen that I love. The first is the refresh rate. All